Hmm. Alrighty. The stream should be live. I'm going to give it a few minutes for people to connect before I get started. Um, so in the meantime, I'm going to keep playing around with the graph that I was working on before I started the stream. Let me let some people know. And alrighty. So okay, cool. So let's start with what the talk was supposed to be specifically about, which was the ability to create a coin on the GraphLinq IDE. So let me switch back over to where we were. Some people are still joining. Um, our CMO just sent out a tweet to get some people, letting them know the stream is live. Um, I'm gonna send one too. I believe what we're probably gonna do is chop this video up. So even though it's gonna be kind of fun that we're doing a live video here, we're gonna end up chopping this up and using some parts of it to be able to send this back out. Um, cool. Let me copy link address, send it off to some people. Okay, great. So let's start with what we originally were gonna do on this stream. Also, there are some people who sent in some uh, requests for some things to be put on stream, some how tos, and we're not going to get into those today because I really needed to have the time to be able to set that up before doing them on a stream, just because it's going to be a lot of you watching me add a lot of blocks, and I'd rather have the blocks done with the way that you guys asked for these demos, and then be able to explain them rather than creating a bunch of graphs live, because those ones are a little bit more complicated. But for the one that we're going to do today, which was the one that people asked for, was creating a meme token. And it technically doesn't have to be a meme token. It's going to be a regular ERC20 token on Ethereum. So if you wanted to actually create a token that would be for something other than a meme, you could do it this way as well. But I know that people specifically were asking for meme tokens, especially because meme tokens are really hot right now. Um, so there are two ways you can do this, and I'm going to show you both of them because what's really great about learning the IDE this way is you can see a very easy way of how to get it done, where basically you just fill out a bunch of variables on the screen and press go, and it does it for you. But you also can take that, this is called the wizard. You can take that and then actually open it in the IDE to see what it's doing behind the scenes, which is really awesome. So for me, reverse engineering something, like understanding how it works and then seeing the internals of how it works, is a great way to be able to figure out what it's actually doing when you can just instantly see the end product of what you're expecting it to do. So, um, let me. Are you following? Okay. So let's see. This is the deploy ERC20 token on Ethereum. And then you are given two options. First, you actually have to name it though if you're going to do this. So, my awesome meme. So from here, once you select it, if you would like to um, do this the easiest way, where basically the idea of this template wizard is we built the graph for you, and you don't have to actually go in fully to the IDE. It will build the graph for you in the IDE and launch it without you having to actually do the part where you're, putting all the blocks in and connecting them. So once you've selected that you want to do this meme coin, you are able to then hit next, and you will be brought to a typical form that you need to fill out, and you'll be able to get everything you need. So, one of the things that you do need for this is you need a managed wallet. And the reason for that is the graph is going to be connecting to the Ethereum network and launching the meme token. And you can't connect your wallet from your browser to be able to do that. So the reason for that is because a lot of what you're going to end up doing in the IDE is, besides just this right here with creating it, when you start to get into monitoring something and attempting to make transactions, you can't be there to be able to click the approve button every single time. So what we have in the app interface is the ability to create these managed wallets. So what's really cool is you basically go into here, and this is always the best part of doing a live stream. Awesome. There we go. So in here, you can just click on the create wallet button. And what's really cool is you will just give it a name. So we'll call this my awesome meme wallet. And we're going to save that down here in a sheet, just because we're going to need that later. And when you create this, at this moment, you're going to be given the private key for this wallet. After you select OK, you will never see that private key again. That private key is encrypted as strong as we possibly can, and it is stored on our side. So you will never get this again. So if you go ahead and you deploy this token, you are really going to want to be able to keep this wallet. So once you hit create, um, 16 characters max. Did not know that. I learned something today. We'll just call it my wallet. Make this a little easier. Cool. So now here, right here is your private key. Again, you will not see this again once you leave this screen. So you definitely going to want to copy that. For me personally, I use a little program called KeyPass to be able to store these. So you're able to keep all your keys in a database and offline. I know some people like to use some of the online um, password managers. For me personally, I like to store it locally in an encrypted database so that nobody uh, has access to it and it's not on the internet. So we're going to go ahead and save that key there, because what you will need to do, and some of you probably are seeing this, is what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to fund that wallet, because the only way to be able to launch your token is you're going to need gas in your wallet. So what you're going to end up having to do is go into your MetaMask and do a add account. If you've never done this before, if you've only created accounts, so basically you're going to click on your accounts up here at the top and hit add account, and you are going to import the account and from a private key. So once you put this in here, you are now going to get this account, and if you look at the um, address of the wallet we created, my wallet ends in 4DC5A, and that's right there. So now you have full access to this wallet as if it was a just regular wallet that you would have normally created in something like MetaMask. Obviously, you don't have to use MetaMask. Every major wallet supports being able to do a import of a private key. So at this point, then you can then fund this. You can fund this. So um, for this, we're going to switch back over to Ethereum. So at this point, you can now fund this and send some Ethereum to this wallet to give it access. So if you're going to be using this in the future, it's really great. Create one wallet and use it for all the things that you're going to do. And having funds in it really makes this work. So once you have that wallet, which is something that if you're going to use the transactions, you should already have that set up anyway. So it's kind of really a separate part of this, but it is needed. Um, so now let's go back and let's actually create this token. So you give your graph a name in the template wizard and come down here and select the deploy ERC token and press next. So when you come back to here, you're going to have to um, input the name that you gave that wallet. So if you put in here, we called it my wallet, that will then use that um, wallet, that address that you provided to be able to get money for things like gas. Um, this text right here is just going to pop up when it's done. It just says token has been deployed at, and it's basically just, a little bit of text to give you instead of just displaying the address up here, it's going to give you a little bit of wording for it. And then you go ahead and give your token a name. So we're just going to use my meme for this. And then for your token symbol, we're just going to call it my meme. Why not? I don't know if there's even one out there, so I'm not going to fire this off. And then you're given these last two options, which are really important. Everyone in this is important. You want to select who is going to actually own this token. And when you do this, this also will be the address that the total supply that you create for the token gets sent to that address. So if you want to, you can use the token that, I'm sorry, you can use the address that you used to create the token if you want, but you don't have to. So a lot of times, even with GraphLinq, you'll see we have like a deployer address, and we actually have some different addresses that are for different things. So if you want, you can go ahead and stick in the same address that you're using now, or you can use a different one. It really is up to you. Um, but for something like this, you probably could get away with just using the address you already have. And then you have to come up with your total supply. So this is going to be how many tokens you want to mint right off the bat for your meme token. So let's just say you would like to do, I don't know, let's just say 1,000,000. So you're going to end up with 1, 3 zeros, and 3 zeros. So that's going to be 1,000,000 token. And then you're done. That is literally all you have to do without even touching the IDE to be able to make this done. You press deploy. I can't do that because the wallet I just created has no gas in it, so it will fail. But what you need is, like I said, you need this wallet that you created in this option over here. This line, you can leave this one the same. It's just kind of a little courtesy. And then you just need the name, the symbol, the address where you want it to go to, and your total supply. And once you're done, after the contract gets minted. It, may take a little bit for Ethereum to, um, oh, hmm, I don't think I had money in there. That's strange. I'll have to check that out. You would then be able to load into your wallet here. Oh, you know what? I don't. Maybe that was weird. Yeah, I think that actually should have errored. I wonder if that's the error because see that is very strange. I'm gonna have to look at that. Not sure how that happened. Something went wrong there. I think that's one of those where it errored with a yes message for some reason. So if you go back to the screen before where we were, where you were naming it, and you click on the deploy ERC20 token, this time instead of pressing next, we are going to go ahead and press edit on IDE. So what this is going to do is this is going to take that graph that when you filled out those variables um, in the wizard, and it's going to open it up into the IDE and actually show you how the graph is set up. And you can then enter those variables in the IDE, um, which for this one, because it's a very simple graph, it's literally going to be the same way that you did before. So um, right here, so we're going to start with the way that it did it in the order. So um, for this is your starting point. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get that personal managed wallet that we have. So that one's called my wallet again, if you remember how we did this in the last one. And then we filled out these options here, including this one was an option, but in here where, you can see it has the exact same text. Uh, so again, for this one, this would be your name. So I think we did my meme for the name. And then next is your symbol. So for that, we put in, I think something like that. And this is the owner address. So for here, we went ahead and put in this address here. And the total supply, we put in 1 million. So once again, this now is the exact same thing as before. Um, and like I was saying in the beginning, it gives you the option to see how it would work without having to create the graph. And then from here, you're able to then kind of reverse engineer it and learn a little bit about it. So, like I said, we hit the start, and when that happens, the first thing we do is we get a wallet. So we give it the name, and then that wallet address pops out right here. Um, this is the actual connection to the wallet, and this would actually be the address. So that happens kind of behind the scenes. You don't have to do that when you write it into the wizard. And then you create the token by providing the information for the name, symbol, owner, and total supply. And then once that's happened, that basically kind of uh, just like how you create a graph and then you launch the graph, you create a token and then you actually deploy it. So that kind of basically gives it a chance to check over to make sure all these are correct. Because if you were to put letters in here for your total supply, that obviously would be an issue because this should be numbers. So this is kind of a little box to give it a check to make sure everything is working correctly. And then you basically pass in the information along with the wallet, and that is going to deploy and give you your token address. And what happens here at the end, for those who are not super tech savvy, concat string, what that does is that takes string A, which is token has been deployed at, with a space at the end, and then appends the contract address to the end of it, and it will then print that out into the console here. So once again, that basically is taking care of all of it for you and even creating the graph. So what's really great about this is like, okay, now how uh you've learned how some of these blocks work. You may not have known about personal wallets before, but what's really cool is like that kind of gives you a little insight into how some of this stuff works. So if you wanted to, you really could, let's just say, um, we're gonna disconnect these blocks real quick. And instead, we're just gonna really quickly do um, so for those who haven't used the IDE before, um, I should back up and mention a few things. The yellow line is your execution path. So basically, everything moves from left to right. So because this block here is our when the graph starts, that then takes this line and brings it to here, which means this is the first block to get executed, and this is then the continuation path of where you would like it to go from here. So just for fun, we're going to print out the address here, and we're going to steal this print. Oh, we actually don't need that print. And I'm also going to throw a stop block in here so this stops. So basically that gives you, those are your graph controls to be able to start and stop. And because these blocks here are not included in the execution path, they are allowed to remain in the graph, but they will not actually do anything. So kind of think of it kind of like when you leave code for those people who write code and you comment out a section because you don't need that. You still have that code there. You can always go back and use it, but you've basically told it to ignore it for the time being. So if all goes well here, we should be able to execute. This may actually prove why that we had some issue on the other. So this now, I'm going to press execute, and in a second this is going to fire off. And what's really cool too is if you go back over here, you can see under my graphs, you can actually see the ones that are running. This is where you get control over it, is in the app. So I had another graph I was working on here that you can see I currently have stopped. And since this was 7.5 minutes ago, this was actually the graph that deployed the meme token. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Uh, so you can actually see there was an error here, which was the fact that there was a zero balance. Um, so I'm gonna have to look at that because that should have actually not said that it deployed it. That was very strange. Gotta love doing stuff live on. I've never purposely clicked the deploy with not having money in the wallet. I don't know why I clicked it. I shouldn't have done it. But as you can see back here, for this graph that went ahead and got the personal managed wallet and asked to print the address out, you can see here's our address. I'm sorry, here's our address here. That's the 4 DCA 5A. So it actually gave us what the address is of this wallet. And because we hit stop, that actually went ahead and stopped this token. Did I name that? Okay, cool. So that's kind of some basics. And you guys had asked, like I said, you wanted to learn about some more uh, interesting uses, which was really great. Um, Specifically, you guys asked for things like arbitrage, being able to. So, for people who don't know what arbitrage is, let me explain that because that's kind of important. Arbitrage is when, so in crypto, for instance, in the stock market, when you go and you want to trade, let's just say Tesla's stock, you're going out to the one exchange. They trade on, I don't know, NASDAQ, I guess. I forget. But basically, you're going to that one exchange, and when you request a price or try to execute a trade, you only have one order book in that instance, and that order book is literally everybody who's making trades on that. Um, but with crypto, because there is no one exchange, you have order books at Coinbase, you have an order you have an order book over at Binance, you have one on MXC, and in theory you also may have ones trading on Uniswap as well that have their own price. So these prices are um, independent of each other. And what keeps them in line with each other is people who do arbitrage. And what arbitrage basically is buying a token on one exchange where the price is lower and selling it on another exchange where that price is higher. And then basically you are netting the difference between the two of those. Um, so the reason why I can't show you that today is because I live in the United States and pretty much every exchange that we support, I actually can't even use. So there's really no way for me to even be able to show that. Um, However, I will put it together for next time. Um, I will see if maybe I can just fire off a VPN and at least get the prices and maybe show you how it would execute. Or I'll see if I can have another team member who is outside of the States who would be able to actually do that because, like I said, I can't do that. Um, and I did have another example here of another graph, which is just to give you an idea of how this would work. So basically, um, what you're going to end up with if you're trying to do arbitrage is you're going to end up with two prices. You're going to end up with the price from exchange one and the price from exchange two. And what you would want to do is compare those two numbers and see how much of a difference there is between it. Because part of doing arbitrage is also determining whether or not there is a trade there that is worth the money to be able to do it. Um, Now, generally speaking, for this, the way that you would probably do it is you would keep the money on both exchanges to be able to do this and not have to move the money um, to be able to complete the arbitrage. Because also arbitrage, a lot of times um, does not last. The opportunity does not last that long, so you want to be able to act quickly. Um, But just as another example here in this graph, what I've done is I've used our Ethereum connector. So one of the things in graphs is the order of execution, and basically a connector will run before the on graph start. And the reason for that is that you want to have the connection made and established and working before you go ahead and try to execute another block. So what's really cool is some of our blocks don't need to be part of the execution path and they can just run. So in this case, we can actually just connect this directly here and not actually be part, because what happens is the print block is the one who gets executed, and then the print block says what is the value of this, so it kind of executes it that way. And you can see in this example is the idea is we're monitoring gas prices. So also, if you think about this again, I'm kind of giving a little bit of a preview to arbitrage and specifically on dexes in the future for the next couple upcoming videos that we're going to do. One of the things that you would have to take into account to see whether or not there is an arbitrage opportunity is not only how much the difference is on the prices between the exchanges, but also what's the current gas. Because if there's an opportunity for you to make $50 on an arbitrage, uh, but gas is going to cost you $50, there's no opportunity there. So this is going to be a really big part of it as we go forward, is needing to be able to check gas and see whether or not that actually is going to be worth the opportunity. So in this graph, what I've done is I've used Infura to be able to connect to Ethereum. You can use the Ethereum connector block without setting the URL. It will use the one that we have set. Um, but I will tell you that a lot of times that can become uh, rate limited because other people might be using it. So, uh, setting up an account on Infura is free for the the lowest package in terms of how many requests. So it's definitely something worth looking in for. That's Infura.io, and also even if you ran your own node, you also could do that as well and have it connect that way. Um, so once we set up the connector and get it to Infura, we go ahead and start the graph. And the graph here, I have it printing out the gas price just because it is nice to be able to see it. And then it runs into what's called a decimal branch. So a decimal is kind of like an integer. So an integer is just the whole number one, two, three, four. A decimal is a number that contains a decimal and numbers after it. So what I've done here is in this decimal branch, you have value A, which is your first value, and value B, and those two are going to get compared. So we go ahead and input gas price. I'm going to come back and explain something here too. We input the gas price that we got from this block as value A, and then we input a static value. So basically assuming that we don't want gas to be over this amount. And then actually, I kind of actually did this backwards because you would want. Oh, actually, no, it is right. Okay. So, and then the value for B is a static number that we set, which is going to be this number 20.001. And then it gets passed into the decimal branch. And then from here, you can use these operations to continue your path. So rather than a decimal branch outputting anything that's like text or data, what it's actually outputting is different execution paths. So when something is greater than, you can give it a different execution path, and when it's less than, you can give it a different execution path. So in this example, if it's greater than, we have the system print greater, and if it's less than, we have the system print that it is less than. And both of those execution paths end up back at the stop graph. So the graph will be stopped at the end of running its execution. You can see earlier I ran it and gas came back as 20.5. So it came back and said it was greater than the number that we had selected. I purposely chose a number that would be close. So at this point, what you would then do is you would use a very similar logic. So instead of this just printing greater than or less than, you would print the uh, you would go out the greater than value and not execute the trade because the value is greater than your profit or greater than a certain number that you don't want to exceed. So this would basically output um, trade is not profitable or whatever you would want it to say, and it would just then continue to keep waiting, and you would use maybe a timer or some other method of trying to wait a little bit and then check gas prices again later to see if there is an arbitrage opportunity. Um, and then obviously, if it is less than, now we know that the trade is profitable. So, um, and you could use these multiple times over. So like maybe you want to find out that it's less than 20, so you know that like gas is at a good price, but you also could calculate your profit and see if it's going to be less than what the gas amount is. So you can keep using these branches to be able to refine when your code executes because conditions you have to make sure that conditions are proper. Is there an opportunity? Um, how much is this opportunity going to cost, and basically decide whether or not you should execute it. So now that we've done that, I'm going to mention one other thing is that you are able to on some blocks be able to use them more than once on the output or use them more than once on the input. So, for instance, something like stop graph, you can have a whole bunch of different execution paths that end on the same stop. Or you can just add another stop somewhere. I mean, for doing this, this could have been a single stop, and adding the another stop to the graph is also a possibility. You could do it that way. But obviously, making it so that there's less blocks, knowing that you can do the ability to have one block and have them all come into it is really awesome. And you can see also over here, we took the gas price and we printed it here, but then we also went back and grabbed that gas price again and had it go into our decimal branch. So again, things like this, same with this number. If you wanted to use this number again somewhere else, you can just go ahead and click on this and connect it to another print. And as long as it's in your execution path, you would get the answer. You would get it to print out for you. So that's a little something that a lot of people don't know is that you do have the ability to reuse variables. You wouldn't have to ask for the Ethereum gas price to print it and then ask for it again in another block to add it to the decimal branch. You only need one block to be able to do that. So a lot of blocks are reusable throughout it. Same thing with connectors. You only have to connect to Ethereum once, but if you had another block that, let's just say, for instance, wanted to do some other stuff. So let's say like we wanted to get the balance of something, you're going to once again need that connector. And as a result, you could just grab this connector and stick it into connection. So this graph, I just executed it, and this time gas came back as 19.39. So as a result, it printed the word less. So that was actually really great. The one I had on screen printed greater, and then I just ran it again and it printed less. So now you basically understand a little bit about making decisions in a graph, because that's going to be really important to work on the next lessons that we're going to go forward in the future about creating. I have the list here of what people were asking for. Create an arbitrage price alert box. So again, this is sorry, price alert bot. I said box. This gives chance to make easy money on their favorite coin. So yeah, so even in this, this one was just a price alert. So in a price alert, the idea is you're basically telling you or a bunch of people that there is the arbitrage opportunity available. And again, it would literally work the same way as this. You would be getting a value from one exchange A and a value from one exchange B. And actually, what you would use for that is there is another branch that is really awesome. I'm going to show you. Um, Here we go. The decimal range. So this block will actually allow you to basically give you a greater than, but it has to be a certain amount. If the value of the arbitrage is 1 penny, you're probably not going to execute that. So you would probably want to check that and actually give yourself a higher number that you would be checking for. And then from there, so for this alert, there are tons of different places you can send that message to. And my thought would be is maybe you have a bunch of friends in a Telegram chat or a Discord chat, and or maybe you're streaming on Twitch. I don't really know, and you're gonna go ahead and then just put that message into um, the the chat to let people know that there's an opportunity. So for something like that, all right. So once again, this has a connector which is going to run first. You can tell by the color here at the top. You basically get your key from BotFather if you've never worked with Telegram bots before. I don't know if I can show my Telegram, but there is an account on Telegram called BotFather, and there's not much going on in here. Okay, see, there's a Telegram app here called BotFather, and you're able to manage your bots in here, and they will give you an API key. I made sure it wasn't on the screen. And once you grab that, or your access token, you can then feed that into here, and now you have a Telegram bot, and basically you would want to send a message. So in this option, this is another place where you probably would want to concat some strings together because you are going to have multiple pieces of data that you're going to want to send as a single message. So the data could be price on exchange A is this, price on exchange B is this, and you might want to be able to send both of those pieces of information. So there's a lot of options for working with strings to be able to do stuff like that. Um, Let me go back up to where we have strings. Here we go. So what you can do, a great option besides concat. So in a concat, you're basically taking one string and adding it to the end of it, adding a second string to the end of it. But if you wanted to, what you can do, um, let me grab another string. So here's your original string that you're going to put in, right? And what you would do is say, um, let's just do this, right? So exchange one, and then what you would do is you would put a variable. So for those who are not up on programming, a variable, it's kind of like in math when you have a variable called x and x represents something else. You can go ahead and do that as well. The easiest way to do that is to use a symbol. So for this, I'm not going to use the dollar sign because maybe you want the dollar sign to be printed. Um, so for this, we'll go ahead and just use the exclamation point. So what happens now is you then throw two more strings on here and you tell this that to replace, the next option is what in this string you want to replace. So we want to replace the exclamation point, and the text we want to replace it with would be the value that's coming in from the other exchange. So in theory, this would be, let's just say 123,444. I don't know, doesn't matter. But that would then allow you to insert this. And what you could do also uh, is add, more text into these, or do this in another replace string block, do exchange two with a replace string, and then concat both of them together. Actually would be an easy way to do that. So replace string and string, right? So let's do this and throw a couple of quick 2, 3 strings out here. For me, I like to have my data looking nice if I'm going to be seeing it. I think there's some value in doing that. For this one, we'll do a different variable just to show you can set any variable you want, and we'll make this 432144. So we're going to set our original text as this with the variable using the $sign. We are going to look to replace the $sign, and when we replace it, we're going to pass in this text. Again, this text would have been the price from the actual exchange, or maybe it is the arbitrage difference, but it'd be something like that you would actually pass along, and then you would send it to Telegram. So I'm not going to send it to Telegram only because I don't have my bot key with me. But real quick, we're going to just throw a couple of blocks in here. I'm going to throw a start, a stop, and a print. Actually, what would be really cool actually now is to concat these. So this is actually going to be pretty decent. So again, these blocks don't need to execute. They can't execute, which means they can't execute coming out the right, and they aren't executable, which means there's nothing coming in on the left. So at this point now, you're going to take these and you're going to send them into the concat string, which again is not executable or can execute, and give it string A and give it string B. And in here, you can also set the delimiter as well. Am I doing this right? Do I need to do this with the delimiter? Yeah, I wonder what happens if I just don't select the delimiter. Does it? I can't remember. But, so in this case, your output, the string, you're basically, the only block you're actually really executing is the print block now. So it'll be your start and your stop here. Just for fun, we are going to add this dash and make the delimiter the dash so that it does have a value. I forget sometimes how these blocks work. There are so many of them. The good thing about that, though, is there is a great documentation for all of this. So if you ever are wondering how some of these blocks work, you are able to, let me just grab a new tab here. Oh, there go all of my IDE, my Infura keys on screen. Well, might as well show them because they just flashed. So there they all are. Gonna have to reset all of those. Thanks for playing. um, Nice beanie. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. My sister actually bought this beanie for me during the last bull market cycle, I think. So I've had this guy for a while. And it definitely does get brought out more often during different times of the year. So, so the delimiter is only if you're going to get rid of that, I think. But you can see here our exchange out. It's our output from putting this in is exchange 1 and its value, and exchange 2 and its value. So basically, that would be how you would be able to format this message to be able to send it on to the to something like a Telegram bot or uh, uh, Discord, so that idea would be kind of like you have a bunch of people together and you're all looking for trade opportunities. Um, and your graph could actually check multiple different pairs. Maybe some people aren't awake, or there are some people who are trading different ones, and maybe they're not looking at the ones you are, but you could be sending in multiple pairs to be able to uh, do that. I was about to open this browser to do something, and I kind of forget what it was. Um, oh, I got it. Give me 1 second. Let me go ahead and grab this. I'm going to do. Um, mm, mm, mm. I wanted to pick one that had some screenshots with it, but basically, yeah, this is a great one. So basically, our documentation has some really good explanations of what a block does, and on a lot of them, we actually have some screenshots that allow you to um, perform. Sorry, we have screenshots for to help you better understand what it is that they're doing. So it looks like in this screenshot, we're taking the um, 24-hour volume and the market cap and dividing those two. Um, oh yes, I remember now. This screenshot reminds me of how we used to do it. So the when we did replacing strings in a string, the way that we did this was that we used the curly brackets and a number between it. And what that allowed you to do was be able to um, set the full text. So rather than setting this text twice like this, what we actually did was this. I remember. Um, so what you would do is exchange one, and then because we're computer nerds, we start with zero, even though you can start with one if you would like there. Um, and in this, we're replacing zero. And then what you would be able to do is also put exchange two and put this number one. So now what you would do is you would replace that, pass this string on to the replace again, and this way you don't have to concat it at the end. So now you would say the original string is again, sorry, let me do that. The original string is just this string as it is now. So in this example, this would have already replaced zero with this number, and it would pass on this string. You wouldn't want to pass in this string because zero wouldn't be done in that string. So you want to pass on the completed string. Um, Give me 1 second. I just want to save this. Okay, there we go. Sometimes the lines get a little wonky. So now we're going to go into this next one, and in this one we're going to be replacing number one with this, and at this point just print this one message. So actually by doing this you eliminated a lot of blocks out of here and made this a lot more simple. So now you're using the replace string to, and basically keep passing the output on. So you would be able to do this with a lot more variables. You could just keep adding variable number two, variable number three, and that would allow you to um, post in lots of data. So, for instance, you wanted to add the name of it, and you want to use that as a variable that would allow you to hang on. I want to see what our CMO just sent to me because I just realized that this is coming up on an hour. Would be cool if add some ETH into your wallet and actually launch the token to show on Etherscan. Oh, right, I forgot. Part of this also was the next part of after launching a token. Thank you, Taras, for reminding me. Um, so yeah, so we're done with this. We don't really need to do anything more with this one, but let's back up. I'm gonna open up some information here to show you what the next steps would be. Uh, and actually, we might have Taras send me some Ethereum because I'm very scared to do it on stream. I've already ruined my Infura keys. So, um, okay, cool. So this also, I just launched this. This is now doing the exact same thing it did before. So because you're concatenating, sorry, you're doing a replace in a string where it has both of the variables that you want to replace. It has the full string basically. You can replace the 0 and then pass that string into the replace string again and do it for the second variable, and you end up with the same output as before but with less blocks. Give me a second here. Okay, let me just find the page for this. Should have bookmarked it. Oh man, I had this page open before and now. Let me look at my history. I can't find the page for Uniswap for adding liquidity. Um, oh, here, this was the actually really good page that would actually show you how to do it. So, um, Taras, if you're still listening, we can also save doing this for another time just because it would be great to have that set up. We're going to have to wait for the transactions to complete so we can kind of follow up next time with doing the actual transaction and the liquidity and then jump into the next topic so that basically we kind of tease part two and then finish up part one and keep it moving. um, so the documentation here will show you how to do this. You're basically going to jump into here and you're going to create a position for a pool. And if you have used the GraphLinq Hub interface, we do have a pool already on there for our token pairs as well. And because of that, that allows them to trade. So in here, I'm guessing we probably would use ETH as the main pair, and then we would probably have to put in our contract address because it wouldn't be listed here. So once we put in that contract address, that would then allow us to then finish filling this out, and we would then have to deposit some Ethereum with it, and we would also have to deposit some of our tokens that we minted to ourselves. So next time we will go through that part of it because we're coming up on an hour, and that's probably long enough. I see some people already started dropping off. So um, if you have questions, definitely submit them in the chat. I know that the admins are trying to compile them and add them to the list that we will do in future videos. Um, I think that, oh, don't mean to do that. I think that this is good for now. If you have any questions about some of the stuff I showed you, um, but yeah, it really would be good. We'll schedule one for very soon, and I'll move some ETH into a separate wallet, um, and go ahead. We'll go back and we'll actually launch a real meme coin, and we will add some liquidity to it, And my whole thing was if I was going to do that, I wanted to at least come up with like a halfway decent token rather than just spending the money to launch it and put liquidity into it that's not going to really do anything. So uh, I'm going to come up with that, have that ready to go, and then we will walk through launching it. And then honestly, even after we launch it and add liquidity, we also then can execute a trade against it on Uniswap and actually try to purchase some more of it. We can use a different wallet and make a purchase. So thank you for tuning in. Again, it's 11 o'clock. If you have any if you have any questions, definitely throw them in the chat. I am not watching the chat all the time, but the admins are, so they are really good about making sure that everything gets noted down for me to take a look at. Um, any questions, drop them in there. Any ideas for future streams, let me know. So as of now, the ones we have coming up in the future, we're gonna finish the meme coin, and we're actually gonna launch it. We're actually going to put the liquidity pool together and actually execute a trade against it, which is going to be really fun. And then we're people are very interested in some automation in the IDE. So arbitrage price alert bot, and we're looking to maybe do something where if there's a dip, to be able to buy something on the DEX, as it looks like. Also, people were asking about creating a DCA bot um, on the DEX. So we can look at that, and also creating a bot that does take profit on a coin that's on the DEX. So basically, rather than having to put your trade in on one of those platforms, you actually keep your trade off of the books and only have that trade execute when the price that you're looking for is reached, and then have that sell or buy. It doesn't have to be a take profit, it also could be a buy. So if you're looking for something to get below a certain number and then have it actually execute the buy as well, is a possibility. So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for joining. It's really great to see everybody who is here. And I will see you guys in the chat. Thank you so much for everyone who joined.